Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
Do you have a vision for the future? It's great to have a vision, but the next question might be more important. Have you shared it with the people that you're leading? Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And we're excited to be talking to you today about engaging and developing others. It's our second fundamental from Mark's new book that's coming out, Uncommon Greatness. The first one was to see the future. It was this idea of having a vision. Today, we want to talk about casting that vision. It's an important part of raising the engagement level. And Mark, they may be confused. Like, I thought we already talked about vision, but there's another layer to it.
Well, we've said that leadership always begins with a picture of the future, but you have to rally others to make that aspiration a reality. And they're not going to get it if it stays in your head and in your heart. And so this is one of the key levers to drive engagement. People care about the answer to the question, where are we going?
Yeah.
What are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to become?
Yeah. What are we trying to do?
Why does it matter?
Yeah.
You've got to cast that vision.
Yeah, and so how do we do that? We somebody told me one time, you say it, you spray it, you wheel it, you deal it. I mean, you're trafficking the vision. I mean, you've got to be casting it. And we say,
I hadn't heard that language before. Spray it, and
say it, spray it, wheel it, deal it. I mean, we're good. Now we
that'll
say
be a T-shirt.
Here, that's right. We need to maybe make that on the Lead Everyday T-shirt. But here's the deal. We may want to say it a little more succinctly even than that. That's pretty succinct, but one of the things we talk about here, when you're in a casted dynamic vision, you really do need simple is powerful. Wasn't it Drucker who said if you can't put it on a T-shirt, you really don't have it? I mean, it's like, can you say it succinctly?
You need to say it succinctly, but yes and. So I had a call yesterday with a leader, and he's working on his culture. And some of you have read the book Culture Rules. The first rule is that you have to aspire. You have to be able to share your hopes and dreams for your organization's culture. And so this guy, very thoughtful, had done a tremendous amount of work. And he said, can I share my aspiration with you? I said, I'd love to hear it. And he gave me a brilliant articulation of the aspiration for his organization. And it was probably 250 to 500 words. It was brilliant though. And I told him, I said, man, you need to laminate that. I said, I can tell you put a lot of thought and a lot of energy in that. And he said, well, I did. Thank you. I said, I think it's gold. I said, let me tell you what else you need to do. I said, you need to create 3 more versions. I said, 1, you need to cut that in half because you're going to be on an elevator and you're going to have half that word count to share this story. And then you need to create it one more time where it's very, very succinct. I said, it's back to the Drucker thing. If you can't put it on a T-shirt, you don't have it. The misstep a lot of leaders make, in my opinion, is they start with the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then it's sloganeering.
Yeah.
And there's no substance and there's no meat and there's no texture. So this guy had started there. Yeah. I said, so figure out how you could say it succinctly. We brainstormed for a minute. We may have gotten it down to 3 or 4 words.
Yeah.
Just based on what I heard. I said, let me give you this to consider. And I said, and then there's a 4th option. He said, well, we've already gotten it down to like nothing. I said, yeah, now you go write the keynote where you can spend an hour talking about it.
I love that.
And then you'll have 4 versions and you'll know which one to play when. But you have to be sure that in that mix, you've got one that is very, very succinct.
We'll give you a couple other things to think about here, but maybe we make that your action item today. What's your 1-page vision? How would you write that? What's your paragraph vision? What's your tweet? I mean, if you had a tweet, maybe that's it. And maybe if you even had a word, like is there a word? You could get down to 1 word. But I love going back and like, if you had an hour to talk about this, how would you talk about it? Have 15 minutes. There's it'd be a great.
Because you're going to talk about it the rest of your life.
You're going to talk about
you
this.
Never stop.
This is what you do. You cast dynamic vision. So you say it succinctly, but it's not enough just to say it one time. We think sometimes, well, I said that. I told them in orientation. Yeah, an orientation was 4 years ago, and they're still supposed to know vision leaks.
Oh, and half the people didn't go through orientation.
And we've hired 3 people we don't even remember, and who are they? They weren't even at the last annual meeting. So we have to say it again and again and again. I think it's really important for us to make sure that we are repeating the vision. You said you're going to talk about the rest of your life. You're really going to be talking about the rest of your life. Yes, but every day. This is what
Every
we do.
day.
This is an ongoing
Every day.
challenge, but it's an
Every
ongoing
day.
opportunity for us to raise the engagement level when we
Yeah.
cast that vision.
And I may have said this on a previous episode, but it's such a powerful example. I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to share it again. Again, referencing culture rules, we talk about the aspiration. And the second rule is that you amplify.
Yeah.
Is that you've got to always be looking for ways to reinforce the aspiration. And so I was talking with a senior leader from Netflix, and I asked him how often he talked about the vision. And he thought it was the most odd question. I could tell by his reaction. I didn't know if I had offended the man. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And he finally said, so you're asking me how often I talk about the vision? I said, well, yes, sir, that was the question. He said, well, every day. He said, every leader at Netflix talks about the vision or some facet of it every day. He said, why wouldn't you? It's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Asterisk, to drive performance.
Exactly.
Right? It's not about the aspiration. It's
That's
not
right.
about the culture.
Engagement goes up when we cast that dynamic vision is so important. Now, when we say it, sometimes we think I said it, they're supposed to hear it. I'm saying it a lot. What I found, Mark, is that different people hear things different ways. And so we've got to say it differently at different times. There's some people that need to see it, and maybe it needs to be a video, it needs to be a talk, it needs to be a tweet. But I've got to say it in different ways to keep it fresh, because if I keep talking about it day after day after day, and I say it the same way, that freshness can be lost. It's important for us
it's freshness, but it's actually something neurological as well. What leaders tend to do, unless they work on this, is they communicate vision in a form, a format, and a style that resonates with them.
Yeah.
They've lost touch with the fact this is for other people.
Yeah.
And we know from the world of psychology that different people process information differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so some are going to get it with the facts and the figures. Those people tend to be more math or analytically minded. And so talk them about the numbers and the stats. That resonates and connects. Other people are going to be more relational, and you need to have conversations with them about what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Some people, and again, a lot of people fall into this category, they tend to be more visually oriented. So I would ask leaders, is there some picture or visual representation that you can create? And so you just need to think about not what connects and resonates with you. And yes, you always need to keep it fresh, but what are the different learning styles in your audience? And that's something you need to be mindful of.
I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was working in an organization. One of the things we were working on was the way our facility looked for the guests that were coming. And it's easy to stand up and talk to the people on the team like this is what we want it to look like. But one of the things we would do periodically is we would just take what we called a field trip. We would get up out of the meeting and walk through the facility and all look at it together and talk about what we saw and what does it feel like if you're new. Because you don't remember what it's like to be new if you've been there for a long time. And so just a way to jolt the way we think about the vision of what we're trying to do. And as you think about your company, your leaders, your opportunity, you've got different ways you can say that. Maybe you need a little field trip to think about the vision. Go back and Mark, you talked about earlier this week, the founder's story. I mean, if you have a chance to go meet with the founder, go sit down and talk to them. But maybe you need to go back to that. Didn't you say something about it? If you have a cassette tape of their voice and some of their stuff, you could infuse your team with vision from the past, the present, and even into the future. As we think about, going back to what we said, seeing the future, it's important. So this casting dynamic vision, it's one of the ways we engage and develop people. Engagement will go up, but ultimately performance goes up, as Mark's been talking about all week. And we hope you'll give that some thought. Your vision is not to be left up to chance. You get to decide what it is, but you've got to make sure it's not just in your heart and mind. It's got to get to the people that you're leading if you really want them to be at their best. All right, we're going to come back. We got a third fundamental we're going to jump into in our next episode. I hope you'll continue to share with your friends and family. Thanks for helping us grow the show here. We're having a lot of fun with you. Hopefully you're getting some things. Find something today that you can connect with that we talked about, and make sure you apply that into your own life and leadership. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.